Hello, everyone! It's a weekly manga recap. It's heading in this direction. You just missed it. Go. Run quickly and you might be able to catch it. No, just kidding. We'll wait for you. It's alright.
Oh, that's good. That way
You're
no
just
one
in
feels
time.
like they're missing anything.
No, don't want anyone to feel like they missed anything. That's what the show's for, is to make you feel welcome and feel like you don't have to rush anywhere. And also to hear us talk about, really stupid comics. So,
I don't feel like... All right, now, I'll give a fair disclosure. I know I've read everything for this week. I recall almost nothing of it. But I don't feel like there was that much that was bad this week.
I didn't say bad. I said stupid.
Okay.
This is a very, very, very strong difference there.
That is a fair difference.
A lot of my favorite things that we read for this show are very stupid. So.
There you go. Okay. Yeah, then we might have a lot of stupid things to talk about. I should also note on the topic of stupid, I got new shoes. I can't. Let's see. Can I get it up? They're Sonic Crocs.
My goodness gracious. That was totally worth it.
I was so excited when I saw there was a collaboration going on. And I mentioned that I was going to get Sonic Crocs, but then I was told that's a bad way to spend your money. You shouldn't do it. And I was like, fine, I'll be responsible. And then like 2 months later, I was walking through the mall, and I passed by a Journeys, and they had some Sonic Crocs still on display. And I was like, this is a fucking sign. I still want these goddamn Sonic Crocs. Give them to me. And that's how I ended up with Sonic Crocs. I feel very fast. I put them into sports mode. I feel like no one can catch me. Actually, my feet hurt a lot when I'm in these. But I think that's how Sonic feels as well.
There's a sports mode?
Oh, Nick, haven't you ever... You're going to sound so stupid right now. So this is a normal Croc, of course.
Right.
Looking at it.
Right.
Sport mode.
Porn?
Yeah, because now I can, if I run, this is to catch the back of my foot, so then I could just go fast, like Sonic would. And it's got little charms. It's got a little Sonic right there and a ring, a little emerald.
I remember
this was worth $700. I don't care what anyone says.
Don't do that. I remember the one time I wore Crocs. It was literally because I was on a family vacation and we went rafting, and I was in peak I don't want to do anything outdoors age, which I've never really grown out of. But I would be a little bit more up for it now than I was at the time. And we all got like a bunch of Crocs, so that because like you have to have like footwear, but also like you don't want to ruin whatever shoe you're wearing. So things made of rubber and plastic, that'll do you just fine. And wore them and was like, yep, never need to wear these again.
I really got to praise whoever makes Crocs because, or the PR team for Crocs, because Crocs took a real shellashing when they came out. You were mocked if you had them. You were mocked if you wore socks and you had them. You were eviscerated. And I don't feel like they ever really rebranded. I feel like eventually the people who complained just got older and were like, yeah, fucking Crocs, they're fine. I need shoes. I don't want to tie nothing. Just give me these fucking Crocs. Give me the plastic shoes. Just fucking give them to me.
Yep. All trends that are worthwhile do endure in one form or another. It's like how for a while I hated the entire concept of dabbing. I thought it was stupid, and it just kind of like stuck around so much that I was just like, it's fine. I just don't care enough anymore to hate it.
I think the real we really had to think maybe planking wasn't such a bad thing. Maybe planking should come back. It just didn't live long enough to get past the dumb phase.
Well, I think that you've just kind of proven my point that it just didn't have the staying power to get past the ire.
Yeah, we will re-examine these things and be like, we were too harsh on LMFAO. We should really give it those guys even more of a leeway in creating music.
The Yeah, and it's just goes to show that like if you choose the wrong target of your ire, then eventually Sakamoto Days becomes a really successful manga, and you just kind of have to deal with it. Or Delicious in Dungeon becomes a really successful manga, and you just have to deal with it, and to deal with everyone calling you wrong for years.
Sometimes it happens. Sometimes you say Kill Blue is generic garbage. This will never catch on, and then it's far and away the most successful of any jumpstart in the past year. So maybe not the past year, but the past very recent memory.
Little while, definitely. Well, guys, we do have a lot of manga to talk about today.
And that's why we're weirdly going to talk about none of it. We're actually wrapping up the episode, guys. I hope everybody here has enjoyed themselves.
My favorite series this week was Sonic Crocs, and
oh yeah,
it's an interesting choice, I know, considering there were no chapters, and as far as I know, there are not going to be any chapters, but it was still my chapter of the week.
On the other shoe, there's more Sonic, more rings, a thumbs up, and then, of course, the iconic chili dog.
I was wondering what those things were on it.
Yeah, little charms, little doodads.
And I don't know if my life is better or worse for having had that mystery revealed.
If I ever meet you, Nick, again, I'm gonna wear Sonic Crocs, and you can try them on and see how you feel. Maybe it'll like change your life. You're like, babe, I need some Sonic Crocs right now.
No.
I'm gonna get rid of all my shoes. I'm a Sonic Crocs guy now.
Quinn, I don't know how to tell you this. My fashion sense has not changed since I was 14.
That's excellent. I really envy you. Like, truly, you were like, this shirt has a skull on it. That's pretty cool. I say this as I can literally see a t-shirt with the skull on it. Yeah. I wish I had that. I'm in this weird point of trying to figure everything out, amongst other things. Yeah. I wish I had that sensibility. Just be like, no, the things I like is 14. The things I'm going to like always.
The way you talk about it, it sounds like it's something that I should be praised for, or like I was trying to flex with it, when in reality, I was just acknowledging the truth of what I envy.
I don't know how to explain it to you. This is truly an enviable trait.
I guess I understand that in terms of like, if you just have settled on it, it's one less thing in your life to worry about.
Yeah.
So I do get that.
There's no like, oh, the seasons are changing. What should I do to like re-upend my wardrobe? What kind of style am I trying to make a statement as? And Nick walks in and he's like, there's a skull on this shirt.
It's fine.
It sounds good. Is it black?
It's 95 degrees outside and humid. Blue jeans are fine.
Yeah. All you need to do is make a couple bad movies. You could basically be the new Kevin Smith.
Just the cuffs of my pants start to gradually expand.
Slowly go up.
Oh man, guys, we do have to talk about manga. I think that we'll start off like we usually do with My Hero Academia, if that's cool with everyone.
I'll allow it.
All right. So remember last time how it looked like we were going to get, hey, Toga's going to choose her villain name. Well, she kind of did by not doing that. It's chapter number 393, A Girl's Ego. And we begin with the flashback, which was, Twice saying to Toga, hey, do you want to, like, check out a villain name? And they're actually talking with the rest of the League of Villains. Spinner points out that she and Shigaraki are the only ones who don't have villain names. And Toga's like, nah, that's fine. And everyone's like, oh, well, what about something like Vampirus Carmilla? And it's like, I too remember the first season of Yu-Gi-Oh! GX. That was, she was a cool villain. And wish that some of those villains had shown up more. The Dark Scorpions showed up in that same arc.
You're saying words to me right now, and I believe I'm supposed to know who these characters are, but I assure you I do not.
Asuka's older brother was there, and he wore a mask because he was possessed by an evil spirit that was literally called Darkness.
I read the manga, Nick, and I
Okay.
don't remember that.
Okay.
And what I mean by that is I don't remember the manga. So asking me to remember scenes from a television show I didn't watch is insanity at this point.
Let me tell you about the weirdest episode of that arc
Okay.
very, very briefly. Within the arc, there were like, like a very small group of villains where it's like, oh, you guys have to defeat these 7 guys and like, and they're gonna try and beat you. Standard Yu-Gi-Oh plot thing. One of the elite assassin guys that was in this group was for some reason, still alive pharaoh, or I guess he was like the spirit of a pharaoh that had been somehow resurrected. He showed up on an ancient Egyptian jet, and which he and Judai dueled on top of. And then it turned out that he was bad at dueling, and all of his servants just deliberately lost to him to serve his ego. So halfway through the duel, Judai realized, like, wait a minute, you're terrible at dueling. And then he beats him.
So when you say Pharaoh, you don't mean Pharaoh from like the original Yu-Gi-Oh, like Adam or whatever.
No. It wasn't a Tem. His name was, I think, Anasis. So
like they were just like following the rich tradition of Atem. I also played Duel Monsters, but I sucked ass, as the kids say. So everyone just lost to me. They're like, dude, it's super cool. You played that 1400 attack monster and attack rodent and passed turn.
I mean, it was a pretty garbage deck that he had. Yes. But then again, like everyone in Yu-Gi-Oh! GX had garbage decks because, it was before the showrunners decided maybe we should have like decks that make sense and have strategies that work together and stuff. Anyway, all of this is just as fascinating as the name that the villains have about villain names. One of which Dabi is like, I don't think that you should have to have a villain name. That's all just like, it's in order to just like be crowd pleaser. And Mr. Compress is like, you call yourself Dabi, like what the? Yeah.
To clarify, Dabi means like a cremation, right?
I don't know.
Oh,
does it?
That's what somebody said last week. There's like a little thing underneath whose real name we've yet to learn. Okay, I've heard it's like a pun to some extent. That Dabi means something like cremation or immolation or something like that.
Okay.
Someone in our chat, I feel like, said that last episode. We talked about it.
Thank you to you who did that. So yes, they also like throw around a bit of like there's apparently a speculative history about where aliases came from, and it's a lot of things in terms of like how you would kind of like think about like why you would have those things in the real world, like it would be to hide your identity if you were going to go outside the law and stuff, and then eventually when heroes adapted it became more for marketability. Some say it came from comic books, it's weird to think that this series that is based on comic books had comic books in it before there were superheroes, and then superhero culture followed. It's a little bit odd. But Toga, brings up that like, hey, I joined the league because I want to live as Himiko Toga. So that's just what I'm going to be and who I'm going to identify as. So it makes sense. In the present, she's being very angry at Uraraka, whom she has just stabbed in the gut, and there is a amazing amount of blood coming out of Uraraka's stomach wound. Like, fully
that is
a liter
lot
in one spurt.
She really hit a big one there. She'd be a nurse.
Yeah. I'm sure she'd be great at it. So Uraraka manages to do something. I think she belly to belly suplexes her while they're both zero gravity in midair. But Toga's like, oh, it's fine though. I'm floating, so it's not like anything's going to happen. And also, she can mimic Uraraka's ability. And so she's like, look, I know you're just trying to like sweet talk me right now. You're still planning on throwing me in jail, or you're just going to kill me like they did to Jean. So I know that this is just win or lose, live or die. We're not going to settle this by talking. And anyway, all the stuff that you're talking about is just empty. If you're not looking down at me and pitying me, you're just serving your own ego. And so she unleashes more of the Sad Man's Legion using twice technique, summons more gene clones, summons more clones of, some of the heroes that are fighting with her, whose blood she managed to consume up to this point. And as this is going on, this massive literal wave of humanity taking over more and more of the battlefield, one of the newscopter people brings up like, hey, remember that quirk singularity thing? We've often heard that that's going to happen. Well, here it is. And it's like, well, yeah, this does look pretty disastrous right now that a single person is causing all this destruction. Yes, that's true. And Toga sends out a whole ton of clones to just kind of swarm in a column of flesh towards Uraraka to try and crush her. And she uses martial arts to stop them. It's fine. Hundreds of people. She uses martial arts while she's floating in there.
She's like, ha yeah.
Yeah.
Ha yeah. And then they were all done. They were defeated.
So Toga brags like, hey, I don't care that, you use your power to like cause them all to float, which she has, because you haven't done any damage to them. And Uraraka says, my zero gravity isn't a power for hurting people. And she's talking pretty good for a person who, was stabbed in the stomach and has started coughing up blood. And she continues to throughout the rest of this chapter with seemingly no further problems. So, adrenaline? I don't know. So
she's convicted, Nick. She's a superhero. Just like the song says, hero too, you could be a true hero with all your blood.
Don't stop you from being a hero.
You didn't need all that blood inside of you.
It's like, what the fuck is she singing about now? Wait, hold on.
I don't like this new chorus.
I don't know. I'm kind of like losing this now.
Hey, did anyone think that Jiro might have been replaced by Toga midway through the part? I mean, besides the fact that her voice has changed very significantly, it does seem like she's singing a lot more about blood.
And also, in between each verse, she just kind of like leans over to one of her classmates and starts biting them in the neck. I don't know. I don't know. Heroes are weird, Maybe she's just like doing the thing.
She's like, no, that's what heroes would do. They drink each other's blood.
Behavior for a hero. Okay. If she's singing it, it must be true.
You wouldn't know. You're not a hero. Oh, wait. Everyone in this school is. Shit.
I'm losing the thread. Okay, so Uraraka keeps on trying to, get through to Toga and says like, hey, look, I know that the first time that we met each other, yeah, you scared the crap out of me and I didn't understand you back then. Which, I mean, look, you were grinning really insanely the first time that I saw you when you were trying to kill us. So of course I was kind of scared of you. But Toga, thinks back to one of the last things that Jean got to say to her, which was just like, oh, hey, well, if you're going to just like, call yourself Toga and live as Toga, that's great. Kill whoever you want to. And, just be whoever you want. And at the same time, she's remembering all the times that she has been told that she looks creepy and she's, a murderer and all that stuff. And so having those things in conjunction with Uraraka says causes her to lash out at her again. And Uraraka thinks to herself, like, look, over time I'm always like looking at the people who are smiling. And I think that being able to declare what you love and do it with your whole face, that smile of yours is so perfect that I'm honestly jealous of you. And this now suddenly clashes with all the stuff that people in Toga's life have told her about how her smile is creepy and stuff. And Uraraka reaches out a hand and she says, I don't want to pretend that I never saw that amazing smile. And all of the clones that she has been causing to float, suddenly the float effect floats into more people and starts causing them to float as well. And they realize, and Jiro realizes, well, in the midst of this battle, like, Uraraka didn't touch me, but now I'm floating with her ability. It's somehow spread between all the bodies that came into contact. And Uraraka says to Toga, I can't erase all your crimes. I can't approve of what you've done. But if any of you still feels like talking to me, you can have a lifetime's worth of my blood, and let's have a chat about romance. See, it is normal behavior for a hero.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, look, drink my blood. This is normal for a hero. So I'm struggling right now with this because there are some bits of this that stick out here and there that's like, oh, that's, nice that things are like tying together thematically between Toga and Uraraka's backstories in terms of like, the importance of a smile in both of their lives, and how the differences in those are now coming into a clash and coming to a head here. Uh, hey, Uraraka gets a thing where her quirk is suddenly awakening and evolving, in a very similar way, actually, that Shigaraki's did before this. That's cool too. The whole thing with Toga and saying like he's like, no, I don't want a villain name because I just want to live as myself. That's a nice, twist on that. I just wish that the one big thing in this entire manga, which is a conflict between two female characters, doesn't constantly have the point hammered home of, let's talk about love. And that's
Let's
just
talk
kind
about
of it.
we've got boys to talk about. We can't, yeah. Um, I agree with you. I think I like what this chapter is trying to do. I like a lot of the elements of it. I think there is some difficulty with the art, but that's just a commonplace at this point. Sometimes it's just tough to tell where things are, what they're doing. But I think for me, I really do wish that Uraraka had been a more present character throughout the story, because so much of this is sort of about her interpretation of heroes and what they are. And I feel like unlike Bakugo and Todoroki and Deku, who we've kind of followed throughout the whole story, I don't have as full of a picture of what Toga or Uraraka's kind of view of heroing is. We get bits and pieces of it, certainly. But I do think that there's a part of me that's just wishes maybe she had been involved in more stories, or we had gotten little bits of her that would have felt like. And I wish this didn't feel like this was her beginning and end necessarily. Yeah. So to that degree, I'm a little bummed, but otherwise, I am glad we're at least getting something. I do have to be very clear. I really did wonder. I was like, are we going to get to the end of this manga and Uraraka is going to amount to very little? So I'm glad we're getting something here.
Yeah. I'm trying to look on the positive in terms of that, but that is a big thing that is in my head. It is just, well, this is the Bechtel battle. That this is what's gonna be the focus of things. It's just them talking about romance, or Uraraka insisting that they talk about romance. Well, Toga refuses to think about the guy that she was crushing on, while thinking about the other guy in this manga that she loved, and it not necessarily romantically, but look, her primary male relationship is the big thing that is on her mind during all this as well. So, yep. Anyway, let's talk about Undead Unluck.
Yeah, let's move on to Undead Unluck. This is number 166, Untruth. And we get a nice color page with basically all the martial arts characters here in their cool poses.
I'm gonna spoil the end of the year thing when we normally pick this stuff out. This is my color spread of the year.
Okay.
This is the best one, and if you disagree, you're wrong. So
fair enough. Nick putting his foot down. So we open in a flashback of Shen basically being like, hey, like, dude, you're always going on about the strongest this, the strongest that. Like, what does being the strongest even mean? And Fang just repeats what Foucault mentioned to him, like, those who care for others with an unwavering heart are the strongest people around. Or so I'm told. I don't really get it. It doesn't really make sense to me.
I guess it makes sense that, that comes to mind for him, considering that he is only training Shen because he was told to by her. So
so we cut into the present. Shen and Mui are having their fight. They're both doing really well. We take a look over at Fang, who's like, hey, I have this fucking rod thing. He just kind of point. It's just on his finger. It's very spontaneous. He's like, so I got this for like beating up a bunch of barbarians on a whim. He basically won an artifact as a pure accident.
I ate this Wonder Ball, and this was the prize inside, and I don't know what to do with it.
He's just like, hey, it's a staff. It expands. It can be used. It was used by some Wukong. However, it only brings its power out for the truly strong. And unlike the Jushin Tekken rod, this thing doesn't react to me. So, is this the true? Like, is this the truth of it? And Fuko's like, yeah, the last person to use it was strong. So Fang is like, if the truly strong, as defined by this thing, is the same person you mentioned in the past, and he's like, you know what, fuck it. I don't get this. Maybe I just don't want to. But I have to wonder, every time I watch my dumb disciple out there kind of crosses this woman, he gets stronger, and I can tell that for a fact is the truth. And it doesn't sit well with me, because I'm really quite a dick.
Yeah, he is.
And Fuko's just like, I think you'll find the answer watching this match. So we continue the fight. They're doing really well. It's a lot of back and forth action. We get another little flashback of Shen kind of as a young kid being like, you know what, fuck this. This sucks. I hate training. I don't want food or a place to stay. Nothing comes good for fucking training all the time. And Fang just picks it up and is just like, listen, kid, like in this world, it's survival of the fittest. Like, what would be the point of teaching, like, laying a weakling like you out into the world? If you want to escape, you're going to have to kill me, basically. And Shen just kind of, like, figures, he's like, oh, wait, so all this training's for my sake? Oh, then if I get stronger, I'll never get bullied. Immediately Fang just, like, throws him to the ground. It's like, no, you're an idiot. The weak will die. Only the strong survive. And Shen's just like, I won't die. After all, you're strong, Fang. So you'll protect us.
Aw.
Keep that in mind. We cut to the present as Shen's like, yeah, I think I finally get it. Just like you, I was pretty slow on the uptake. But, you know, that was all those feelings I had back then, thinking like, to kind of like the weird family unit that he had. And he's like, every one of Mui's punches has jogged a memory. I get stronger for other people's sake. I get stronger for you, and for me, and for May. And yeah, you know what? Even for you too, old man. Like, I'm getting stronger for everybody's sake. And I'm sure this feeling, this emotion, and he, like, you know, starts talking again. He's like, hey, Mui, let's keep getting stronger together. Even after we've all grown old. I'm sure it'll be the most fun ever. He thinks.
It's so heartwarming because they have been beating the shit out of each other.
Yeah.
Just full throttle, no punches pulled. Both of them are like bleeding from the mouth, have black eyes, and he looks there like, let's just get stronger. And Mui's like, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, it very much has that energy that like Greta Gerwig and Saoirse Ronan had, where they were like, I kind of just want to make movies with you until we're little old ladies and still making movies. Like, I love that kind of cute energy. Just like, I want to do this until we're old. This is how much I love this. He thinks this is the truth behind becoming the strongest. And he's like, all right, this next one's gonna solve this. And Shen's, you know, building up this big attack, and Fuko's like, here it comes. He's like, here it comes. And Mui just walks straight into the punch. Untruth is activated and has sent her fucking flying.
She got sucked into his move because she was trying to fight him, and so instead it was super effective.
Yeah. So Mui has gone flying. Fang's like, what the fuck? Shen's like, I gotta go. I don't remember if this was established or it probably was. I just forgot it. But this entire tournament's been taking place atop like a Dragon Ball Z mountain. I don't know how to describe it.
It is one of those mountains that Piccolo hangs out on. It is
yeah,
just really wide
sheer
plateau,
rock.
but the drop off is incredible.
Yeah. So she's gonna fall off this mountain. Shen's going after her and catches her, but he's like, fuck, I can't. The mountain's too far away. I can't grab onto anything. I think we're going to die. But then Fuko and all the rest of Union are there, and Fuko's like, call the staff. I know you can do it. Summon it and leave the rest to me. So Shen calls the staff, and we just get this awesome 2-page spread where the staff like impales itself into a wall, and then we have a chain of like Fuko grabs Shen, Billy grabs Fuko, Yusai grabs Billy, Void grabs Yusai, and everyone just starts thanking each other. So, Fuko's like, thanks, Billy, and Billy's like, thanks, Yusai, and it gets to Void, and he's just like, yeah, thanks. Who the fuck's count my legs? And then it cuts over, and it's Fang, who's just holding them all. He's like, is this disgraceful display supposed to be, like, your strength? And they're like, yeah, we're kind of weird sometimes.
He's so casually disgusted, and, like, everyone's done the thing where they're, like, reaching out as hard as they can to snag the person they're leaning down to do it, and he's just standing on top of the staff, grabbing Void's ankles, like, ugh.
I hate all of you guys. So Shen just says, hey, I'm going to repay you for this gesture with my fist. I figured out what it means to be what you always talked about, what it means to be the strongest. Let's get to it, the championship round. So Fang's like, all right, let's do it. Let's find out which one of our strengths is the strongest. There is no explanation exactly. I guess they were just like, that was a pretty good hit. Movie's out. Like, there isn't like any, I don't think there's anything that like specifically says how she's disqualified. Because this is Royal Rumble rules, I assume. She's not disqualified until her corpse hits the pavement at this point.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what qualifies as being ring out, if you can be outside the ring, like, in all three dimensions, or if you're touching something outside of it. Because she definitely hasn't touched, well, no, hang on. So they're on the staff. So the staff has gone through the plateau, and they're latched onto it. So there might be an argument here for double count out rules. You're right, Quinn. So,
well, actually, by that argument, I think Shen loses, because if you count the people who are grabbing onto it, they're grabbing onto Shen first. This is like real Royal Rumble rules, where you're like, whose feet hit the ground first? You're like, if you count the staff hitting the mountain as like out, and then that chain, I don't know. I think we're gonna have to get Vince McMahon out here. He's got to do his big walk. He's gonna rip both quads.
Until someone comes out here to say it while sitting down like an idiot in the middle of the ring, because all the leg muscles in both his legs have been torn in half.
To be clear, I know she is just unconscious. It's just in my mind. They're like, let's get to the final round. I'm like, the referee hasn't said anything yet. I do think we have to respect the laws of this very cartoonish sport we're playing.
Yeah, I guess she could be unconscious.
I mean, she did walk straight into his strongest attack, basically.
Yeah.
So.
Well, we never get like a good look at her face after this, but she is fully limp, and you don't see her face during the entire sequence after that. So,
oh, you do see it when Shen calls for the staff. You can see like a black eye.
Oh yeah, she's out. She's out. You're right. Yeah.
But again, I want the ref to be like, it didn't happen in the ring, so like a very, very big stickler. I think we're going to have to do a do-over. Could we prop up with some strings, perhaps?
Not since the last man standing match between John Cena and Ryback, where we went to a double count out, but then Ryback was the first one to do his feat after it had been called a draw. Has there ever been such controversy in a sporting contest?
Oh, God. I never saw that, but that angers me just hearing it. All right. Yeah, let's talk about Chainsaw Man.
Yeah, it's Chapter 135, Sentimental Drive, which sounds like a very weird martial arts anime technique, like the Sentimental Drive. But so there has just been that television show where the Church of Chainsaw Man has made this big declaration, including Chainsaw Man saying who he is, quote unquote. It is some other guy who is dressed in a school uniform, whose face we don't get to see, and Asa has gotten back home, and she reacts to this news. As there's all this speculation going on about it, and she immediately looks at this guy and is like, "This guy is not Chainsaw Man. Chainsaw Man is stupid." And also, he saved my life multiple times. Oh, her feelings are complicated. Yoru, one, is still disgusted by this, and two, is eating bread. Just bread.
I was so confused by this when I was like, what is this? Because first and foremost, these slices are enormous. This slice has to be the size of her head. because her hand is down here, and it like moves all like whatever piece of bread it is going up to here. These are enormous pieces of bread.
Big piece of bread. Yes, this is a big old loaf.
Yeah.
So she mocks Asa, saying like, "Oh, is he your prince in shining armor? Perhaps he saved your life, but he's my mortal enemy, and I plan to kill him. How could you fall in love with Chainsaw Man? I have not! I didn't fall in love with him. Shut up. I don't like him.
It's not like I like him. He just keeps saving my life.
Saved me life a whole bunch of times. It's complicated stuff." And Yoru says something really mean, which is, "You fall for men so easily." It's like, she's starved for affection, and you're not helping that. But Asa realizes that Yoru's acting kind of weird too, and she says, "Are you in a good mood or something? Because normally when I say anything nice about Chainsaw Man, you get really angry." And Yoru literally goes, "Heh heh," and says, "War draws nigh. The falling devil's mere presence temporarily reversed gravity in places all over the world, and all nations suffered damage and simultaneously became poor. When humans want money, they always go to war. Once they do, they'll all remember and fear me." Makes sense.
Yeah.
But then Asa points out, like, well, but if you get your strength back, won't you not need to kill Chainsaw Man? And it's like, of course I gotta kill him. I'll use my renewed strength to kill him. Stop thinking about how he saved you.
Something about how hunky he is.
Asa thinks about how Chainsaw Man saved her and is kind of hunky despite the chainsaw head. And she has like a montage flashback. It's honestly composited not in the best way. It's very squished together, but it's, all the stuff involving the fallen devil, him pulling her down out of the sky and everything. And Yoru says, "No flashbacks," which is a great touch. And so Yoru's like, "Stop thinking about it. Stop it." And Asa mentally composes a poem about the time that they went on a motorcycle ride together while he was saving her. And she's like, "Stop it! Stop this!"
It is very cringe as well. It's very embarrassing of a poem.
She's so 16, and this, if nothing else, has convinced me. Yeah, she's kind of fallen in love with Chainsaw Man, hasn't she? But in the midst of that argument, Fami shows up and looks at the piece of bread that Yoru's eating. Is like, "You're eating that plain." Meanwhile, she has stolen the entire rest of the loaf for herself because she moves quickly. Yeah. So she's like, "Yeah, can I eat this?" And Asa is like, "The door was locked." Yoru says, "How'd you get in?" "Yeah, can I eat this?" "What do you want?" "What do you want?" "Can I eat this?"
I love that they threw up like War actually puts up fists, but like Asa's like, "Whoa!" And just every response, "Can I eat this? Can I eat this? Can I eat this?" Next shot, she's eating the whole thing. It's gone.
She says very casually after eating that entire loaf of bread, and some jam. It looks like.
Yeah, it looks like it's strawberry jam.
So she knew what she was about. No, not just pure nutrients for this woman. So she says, "I'm here to grant both of your wishes." And Yoru asks what she means, but she's like, "Can I look in your fridge?" "Leave or I'll kill you!" So I guess Yoru really likes that fridge. I guess.
I think she's also just like, "Get the fuck out of my fridge."
"Get out of my house!"
Yeah.
And Asa's like, "It's actually my house, though, and you won't leave either." So Fami says, "Well, Asa wants to help Chainsaw Man. Yoru wants to kill him, and it's possible to choose both."
Ooh, what does that mean, Nick? How can you choose both?
Interesting. Asa resumes control of the body, which Yoru has seemingly had this entire time, considering she was eating the bread before. And she asks, "Well, how is that possible?" And Fami says, "Well, at this moment, Chainsaw Man's given up on fighting devils because his own heart prevents him from being an ordinary human. Even weakling devils can become powerful by eating strong devils, those who are feared. It's why devils are constantly after him, trapping him in a cycle of violence. Many of the church's followers were saved by Chainsaw Man. We want to save him this time. We're hunting down all the devils in town so he won't have to fight. If everyone forgets about Chainsaw Man, he'll grow weak as a devil, and then he can live an ordinary life. It feels like there might be a bit of a flaw in this plan, but anyway. So she wants Asa to join the Chainsaw Man church and fight with them. Because, it's like, you've been saved by him. Don't you want to return the favor? Yoru takes over the body again. It's like, I'm not going to help her do that. I refuse even if she does agree. So Fami says, well, as it turns out, the gray scale of this manga has been hiding an important detail from all of you. Is it the red Chainsaw Man you want to fight, Yoru? Or is it this black Chainsaw Man? And Yoru goes, Black Chainsaw Man. Although, I guess it's the full devil Chainsaw Man.
I was going to say, it's the form he took at the end of the last part, where he just, went, full crazy devil.
But Fami says that the two Chainsaw Men, black and red, are not the same person. Which is definitely possible. I mean, we've seen two different Chainsaw Men up to this point, although we haven't gotten a good, clear one at the fake one yet. So she says, yeah, I understand you didn't realize, considering that, we sisters have no interest in faces. Sorry, that's a good excuse. But she says, if you want to fight this Chainsaw Man, you'll need to turn the red Chainsaw Man back into an ordinary human. The Chainsaw Man that Asa wants to save and the one that Yoru wants to kill are different beings. Join the Chainsaw Man Church, and you can help each other. Asa takes over the body again, and she asks, why should we trust you? And Fami, and she points out, you manipulate things with Yuko. You were behind the aquarium. This Chainsaw Man Church is really fishy. Also, you keep on staring at inside my refrigerator. You're letting all the cold out. You're gonna spoil everything, and you're gonna ramp up my electricity bill. Also, she points out that, the Chainsaw Man that they have, or the guy they have posing as Chainsaw Man on TV, is fake. And she's like, yeah, it's a double to protect Chainsaw Man from devils. But Fami agrees, yeah, you don't have to trust me. I'm asking you to trust the church's followers. And let me tell you something. If you can't trust the devout followers of a cult, who can you trust?
If we can't trust our neighbors at the local cult, who can we rely on, Nick? Nobody. That's what I say.
Mm-hmm. So Asa looks at the TV where they're still showing
Your
stuff.
mailman, the paper boy, the local devil cult. Those are the three things you can always count on, Nick, in any day, any society.
You can set your watch by it.
Uh-huh.
Unless they're a cult to the watch devil, then no, it's
yeah, then it's real dicey.
If you try and set your watch by it, they consider that offensive, and they will chop off your hand. So don't do that. And then we cut ahead. As time has been going by, Yoru/Asa has developed a reputation, having defeated over 10 devils within a month. And there are people, being interviewed about her saying oh yeah, she's really admirable. And is she paid with the believers' money? And stuff like that. One person is just like, quit doing that. Stop it. Stop killing the things that want to kill all of us. Stop it. But yeah, Asa has been doing this stuff, and we get a shot of her having conquered a carpenter bee devil.
Now, was the carpenter bee devil really that big of an issue? Carpenter bees are the safe ones, aren't they?
I mean,
look. They can fuck up your wood, but they don't hurt you.
I don't like bees, so I fully understand why there is a devil for this. So, yeah. And she's standing over its corpse, and she's got, I'm not sure exactly what device this was, but it's a lightsaber now. It looks like it might be like a tape measure or something. And at this point, people are even spreading rumors that maybe she was actually the one who was responsible for defeating the Eternity Devil at the aquarium, which is true. And so it was and I heard that she fought a devil at school as well. Maybe all of Chainsaw Man's kills were actually Mitaka's. And this comes to a head with Denji, who is wearing a Chainsaw Man shirt. And of course, he recognizes Asa's name on the news report. So this was an interesting.
We hope he recognizes.
Well, he says her name.
He says Asa Mitaka. That'd be great if he was just like, "Do I know her next chapter?" Like he has to like open up a yearbook to be like, "Is she in my school?"
So a couple things. So I guess that the earrings that Fami wears are just like because she is quote unquote an important member of the Chainsaw Man Church. Because those things I think are just supposed to be ripcords at this point. I also think that it's interesting that she is telling Asa, you know, if people just like fight in Chainsaw Man's name and do a lot of good, people will not remember him, and therefore he'll lose power. Which seems a little bit weird up until you actually get to the point of where this is going, of people thinking that all of Chainsaw Man's accomplishments aren't actually his, because, you know, he's been having Yoshida tell him to not do stuff while other people have been picking up his slack. It makes sense.
How many panels, Nick, without counting, do you think where you could tell, do you think Fami has a straight on head that isn't tilted at all?
There's a lot of panels in this chapter.
There's a lot of panels, but her head is tilted in almost every single one. That's like her trademark move.
Define tilted. Do you mean like, you know, if you were to put it on an axis, would it be tilting, or do you mean like she actually looks out of the panel at you without tilting her head? Because I don't think there's any of those.
No, there's nothing like that. I just mean I don't think there's any panel where she just has her head like straight on. I feel like every shot it's tilted. There's a couple where you can't tell because like the angle of the shot doesn't let you really tell. But I think her head is always tilted. That's like her characteristic. I like that.
She's obsessed with Dutch angles, so she's, you know, just like doing it so that she can see everything that way.
She's actually not the Famine Devil. She's the Wes Anderson Devil, created by everyone's fear of Wes Anderson and his movies.
Understandable.
She wants a world where there's 499 actors who all wackily interact with each other. Every room is shot from very far away with miniatures, and dry humor is where stupid humor is where it's at its best. By the way, Asteroid City, phenomenal movie, one of my favorite movies of the year. I say this with love. I love Wes Anderson. I love every one of his silly little creatures.
100 of the 499 people are just Bill Murray.
Yeah. Of this 400 and some odd number, there's one black guy.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
and no black women, and no black women whatsoever. I was blown away in the newest Wes Anderson movie because I was like, I think they got 2 black men in this movie. They got 2 old black men.
Oh boy. Let's talk about Spy Family.
It's where the spies are. That's its catchphrase. It's where the spies are.
It's where the spies are. Spy Family Mission 84. Fiona has got Wheeler.
Yuta.
Yes. I forget his actual name. She's got Wheeler at gunpoint, and they've got him cornered, you know, between car in a hard place, basically. And she's like, all right, you know, like, just slide the backpack that you're wearing off and go quietly. Another one of the agents ties his hands up, and literally, like, because they're trying to find the information that he's been sneaking off, they're like, all right, search him. And they're like literally cutting his jacket off so that he doesn't have his hands free while they search him and stuff. And eventually they seem to come across it. And then Wheeler is like, all right, here we go. Hoi! And he does something truly insane, which is with his hands behind himself, he grabs the guy's shirt, and then in the same motion that he gets his hands out in front of his body by, you know, jumping over his hands, he also pulls the guy in front of him, which seems impossible, but it's fine. And then he puts the guy, in the coquina clutch, and so things are bad right now. And he's like, "Hey, drop the gun, or I'm gonna snap his neck." And Fiona's like, "No."
She's like, "Nah, dude, we came here to die. We all know the risks. Sucks to suck, but sorry, champ."
One of the other agents comes around the car, and so Wheeler snaps the guy around, grabs the knife that the guy used to cut his jacket off so that he can get free of his bonds. He jumps over the ledge that he's on and goes down into an entrance into the sewers after throwing the knife into the barrel of Fiona's gun. So this guy's kind of broken. So he dashes off.
He maxed out his acrobat stat. It's real good.
Yeah, he gets to do that thing where you just like get to take 10 in dire situations. So Fiona pursues him into the sewers, and so she thinks like, okay, well, I gotta think about this. Maybe I can just like rendezvous with Twilight. No, I'm not sure if that's a certainty. We've gotten the file back, but I don't know if he's memorized its contents or not. So we still need to secure him. But maybe withdrawing would expose me to less danger. But she thinks about what Twilight would say in this circumstance, which is like, this is what's at stake. We've got to hold on to the peace between East and West. And she knows, like, I can't just stop here. I've got to keep this going. Even if it costs Twilight his life or me mine, the mission's got to be completed. This is really important. And I don't need to be with Twilight forever. If I were to sacrifice myself for his sake, that would be good enough. And she imagines him coming across her body and her dying dramatically in his arms. And then going back home, being like, the love of my life just died. And so you're saying, oh, you're so sad. I'll make you forget about her. And she's like, no, that can't happen. I've got to live.
I do like how she goes from being like, I'll dramatically die here, to being like, never mind, I have to live. That bitch won't get this one over on me.
And she goes off with her pursuit with renewed vigor. Meanwhile, Lloyd is limping around the tunnel, still wounded after his skirmish with Yuri. He's still disguised as Yuri, and he hears some footsteps ahead of himself. And he tries to figure out what's going on, and he realizes, like, oh wait, these footsteps are those of someone being pursued. It might be Wheeler on the run from Nightfall's team, but I can't jump to conclusions. So when Wheeler comes out, it's not like casually, like, you know, Lloyd's kind of like sneaking around, and Wheeler ambushes him and tries to smash his head with a brick. So Lloyd jumps away and is like, oh, it's hey, you're Winston Wheeler, right? I'm with the SSS. I was pursuing a wise agent in the sewers. And Wheeler's like, show me your ID just to be sure. What about the guy you were pursuing? Oh, well, securing you is the top priority. Lieutenant Yuri Breyer. Kicks him in the ribs, and he's like, "Oh, so that's who you're disguised as? Then you're from Wise." Before I could tell that those footsteps were those of someone being chased, which is a nice little echo of like, "Oh, this guy is basically just as good as Lloyd, and Lloyd's badly injured, so he's at a disadvantage here." And he says, "Hey, let's take a look at that face of yours, because it'll be one more gift for the SSS." And we cut over to Fiona, still going through the tunnels, and she comes across the aftermath of their battle, and Lloyd got his ass kicked, apparently. He is on the ground, pinned down, bleeding, and looking really, really messed up. And Fiona sees the body, and she kind of instinctively knows what's going on, but she is in denial at first, thinking like, that's just Yuri Breyer. That's just Yuri Breyer. That's just Yuri Breyer. And Wheeler's like, oh, hold on a second. I was just getting to the good part. And he starts to rip away Lloyd's disguise. And Fiona has a moment as she thinks that Lloyd is dead.
It's, like the rats start running away, like everyone's terrified of her. She makes a big stomp. This is, I don't know how to feel about this, because I do think it's kind of cool. I guess that's it. I guess it's just kind of cool. On one hand, I'm like, it's a little weird, because I do feel like this character, Nightfall, becomes more and more kind of flanderized over time, where there really is only one characteristic to her, which is loves Lloyd. But I do think it's cool to be like, here's my extreme mode.
Yes, Quinn. I question your interpretation of that. At what point did she have a second character trait?
She is competent spy. She does also have that going for her. I guess that's what we're going to see. We're going to see the competent spy part. I mean, we saw it earlier at the start of this chapter. She didn't let Wheeler get away. That was either Nudnik.
Yeah, that was Agent Nudnik.
Captain Nudnik. He just got promoted, though. He's a Nepo baby. Captain Nudnik. I hate him so much.
And just you wait. He's going to be General Nudnik one day.
Yeah, we're all going to have to be saluting this fucking asshole.
Everyone's like...
That's his full name. Fucking asshole Nudnik.
That's Colonel General Asshole Nudnik.
Fucking A Nudnik. How are you doing today, sir?
My friends call me F.A.
F.A. Nudnik.
Oh, God.
Okay.
I don't want to do it.
We had to talk about Eden Zero, Nick. This is chapter 247, To the Field of Battle! Nick, so much happens in this chapter.
It doesn't!
Yet nothing happens in this chapter.
Don't lie to me!
We continue on Red Planet. It was a big reveal that Noah was there, and he's like the Interstellar Union Army coordinator for the Owl Cosmos. Or no, not the Owl Cosmos, the Sakura Cosmos, sorry. I don't know why. I guess he's a weird pervert or like a prude, because he's just like, Rebecca, why are you in a swimsuit? And she's like, we're at the beach. He's like,
We're at the beach.
It's a provocative swimsuit. Could you please take it off? Could you please put something else on? Ooh. I don't know why he's a weird little freak like that. Bunch of characters.
We had to have another character trait for this character.
Yeah.
Than just the guy who was the guild master.
This guy, legitimately, I feel like has done very little throughout the story. I know he's been involved throughout the story, but I don't really feel like he's been a central part of like any major storyline. He just occasionally showed up and knows stuff.
Yeah, this is chapter 247. I believe his first appearance was in chapter 2.
Yeah.
So.
He's like, look, I don't really know what we all used to do in the other worlds, but I could just tell you what the facts are of this world, basically. And like, well, have you been paying attention to us in the other worlds? It's like, no, the person who's known all about this and informed all of us is this person here. He points to a screen. It's Sapphire Knox. And she's like, hey, I'm the director of operations for the Yukino Cosmos, and I remember everybody. Connor's here. He woke up my memories after he woke up his own. I guess just, I don't know, floating in space and getting hit by a rock. Who knows? They haven't been able to contact anybody, though, because basically the events of every other universe where, like, they're hunted down by their cult for having a romance and everything like that. Still kind of going on. So, like, we're playing everything like that. But, like, there's stuff going on. They're like, okay, why are all these, like, Union Interstellar Army leader people coming together? And they're like, oh, not all of them. Here's Elsie Leonard, Interstellar Union Army operator for the Cade Cosmos. She is in a regal princess attire. Wow. I'm actually extremely thankful for this. I was terrified we were going to have to do an entire fucking arc about this, but I really feel we are fast forwarding through all of this shit. Because they do everything we knew. She's together with James. Everyone else from, like, their little groups are just like, hey, we're here, and it's pretty cool. There's jokes about how it's like, what? You were Justice in our world. Everyone makes fun of his name. And I'm like, everyone else's names are just as stupid. I don't know why this name's whatever.
Yeah, can you imagine like, giving yourself the alias Justice, right? Holy.
Yeah. And all right, Victory. So there's like a couple other silly little jokes about like, yeah, in the other world, Elsie was a pirate. She's like, I would never be a pirate. It's so stupid. I'll beat up everybody. Jesse is here. It's very fun to me. He was such a fuck in the other world, and there is no change to his character. He just gets to be here and be cool with everybody else. So, good job to you, I guess, dude.
Hey, what do you think? Jesse, what do you think you would do if like anything ever happened where like one of us died? Oh, I would. Hey, it would be my fault, but I would take no ownership of it. I would lie to you guys, send you on a crusade against them that would ruin any potential alliance between us. There would never be any actual conflict between us, though. It would just kind of go nowhere until all you got killed by a death trap set up by someone entirely unrelated.
They're like, wow, it sounds like you were a real scumbag in this other world. It's like,
no. This is just, I literally just think about this every waking moment.
I just think about shooting you and then screaming it right away, blaming it on somebody else. I don't know. It's like a silly little thing I do. They explained the reason why all these like heads of the different galaxies are together is to be like, hey, we need you guys to take down the Eden's One. It's super duper dangerous. It's collecting Mother Ether. It's really bad, and you guys are the only one capable of fighting the One. So will you help us? And really striking home the pointlessness of this entire exchange. The crew's like, yeah, we were already kind of planning to do this, so. Sounds good. I forgot her name. Sapphire Knox is like, I don't really want to send my daughter into battle. Rebecca gets like almost a full page spread to be like, don't worry, I fought my whole life and I'm gonna keep on fighting. And it's like, all right, cool, whatever. Shiki's like, don't worry, I'm gonna be there for her mom and dad. Oops, maybe too early with that. Whatever. Who cares? He doesn't say that, but he should. Anyway.
I was about to point out, I was like, that's not actually said. But yeah, given the general tone of everything and the intensely, scaldingly hot hetero-ness of the end of this chapter.
Yeah. So they're like, all right, cool. Hey, you might have to watch out. God Noella is going to be there. Kill her because she's just the old bitch. Who cares? I don't know. Whatever. There's like very little catharsis to that moment. It's just something that Elsie just drops off and then kind of walks away with. Cut over to Eraser and Holy after everyone's left. They're like, wow, this is a big responsibility, but we couldn't do it. We ran the calculations a billion times and we'd never defeat one. But we can give all our support. So let's go to war. And then Andrew shows up, the pilot who died in the last universe at the start of the Red Cave arc, or mini arc, whatever the fuck you call it. He's alive. He makes food. Uh-oh, everyone else left. They're going to eat it. Don't worry.
Yeah.
But the chapter ends with Elsie and Justice holding hands, and then Sapphire, Nox, and Connor looking at each other, and Andrew and Nadia like being lovey-dovey. And Holy and Eraser make a joke that it's like, yeah, does it make you jealous? You're the only one here who's not attached. So I guess saying that Eraser and Holy are a couple, I guess.
I guess.
Because they've been in scenes together. I don't know if they've really had any kind of chemistry, but...
I don't know if they know anything personal about each other, but yes, one would have to conclude if not Sapphire Knox. All these people's names are so stupid. Nova, what's his face?
Nick, how can you say that?
Master Noah. Master Noah is his name. If they say Master Noah is the only person here who's not romantically connected, and 6 of the other 8 are just couples, then yes, the natural conclusion is that the last 2 are also a couple. They could have partners separate from this group.
Fox.
In fact, if they established that, I would immediately be like, oh my god, character trait.
Fox Cloak is bringing up that it's probably in reference to the other, them being the 4 different commanders of the army. So I
don't believe that.
I also agree. I think it's very weird. Anyway, this is also a wildly stupid way to end the chapter. That is it. That is the end of the chapter.
I'm at my breaking point. I can't. Look, can we get to the point where the person who is having the dream of this perfect world realizes that something is actually nefarious about it, and they have to escape from the nightmare that they've been trapped in to prevent them from doing the important thing. Everything is too nice. It's so boring. It's like, what if you did one of those Star Trek alternate universe things, except instead of an alternate universe where everything went wrong somehow, and so you had to make it back, it's like, what if everything were just nice?
What if
Not
they
like
fucking ruled?
What if everything were just like not interesting? There were no dramatic conflicts at all to think of. Every villain that they come across is defeated in 2 chapters once they actually find them. It's so boring. I hate this.
My favorite part is that we get an entire chapter of like explaining every fucking character, because we got 2 of them last chapter. Now it's like we gotta explain Cipher Academy, we gotta explain fucking Elsie, all these characters we know. We gotta give them a shot so you can firmly be known that all these characters are in this universe and they're happy, they're good. Everybody.
Every
Then
single one.
To be like, we need you guys to take down the one. And they're like, oh, we were already going to do that.
We were already gonna do it.
And you're like, well, what am I reading? Why am I here? What is my purpose? Like, I start having existential thoughts as I read this chapter. I'm like, why am I here? What is my purpose? Like, what is this Sisyphean fucking hellscape punishment that I'm in, that I'm reading this chapter with no point to it?
When Hero is literally just having his character say, is like, no, this entire chapter was pointless. Fuck!
Why are we here, Nick? Why?
Why are we here? Just to be bored. Oh my god. Alright, next series. Fuck it. Akane-banashi. Story 69. Dad's Magic. Don't title a chapter with this number that. Don't. All right.
Dad Magic.
No.
Mom knows what the magic's all about.
No.
Oh, damn.
Stop. I cannot do this right now. I need a buffer. All right. Okay.
Dad's magic is his mustache.
Stop it, please. We start off the chapter with a flashback into Akane's past, where a teacher was like, the topic is someone you respect. And of course, Akane was immediately like, I know who I'm going to write about. And she writes an essay about her dad. She respects her dad.
I was going to say E Honda from Street Fighter.
Yeah,
She's like, I really appreciate that 17 games in, he's still only really interested in making sumo popular. That's his whole character. It's never changed. He's never been involved in the main plot. I don't even think he knows who M. Bison is.
I really like Raiden from Mortal Kombat. That guy is just determined to find that universe where everything's okay.
He'll do whatever he needs to do to get there. I admire that. There's a lot of cracks in that amulet, but he'll get there.
Yeah. The teacher loved it because he had never played that one game. he just stopped after Mortal Kombat 4. It's like, oh no, this seems like it's not transitioning very well.
Yeah, this is kind of clunky. I'm not on board anymore.
Admittedly, the teacher did say that you could write about an anime character, so it's like,
yeah, E Honda, but boom, done.
But yeah, she writes about her dad because she thinks that he has fucking magic. He can make you see things that aren't actually there with his storytelling abilities. In the present, she launches into her story in the competition, and she is telling a story about a drunk. And she makes an interesting simile at the beginning, which is a drunk is much like a block of cold tofu. They start off crisp and sharp and end as a crumbling mess. Oh, that doesn't sound very nice. It's so not fun, happy drunk. Okay. She gets into character as this guy who is coming home from drinking too much. And she sways back and forth while she's going through the story and keeps on just drinks and drinks and drinks. And it's the story of changing time. And then the guy gets back home.
Time.
Changing to change.
Okay, come on, changing time. The thing that you do while you're waiting for crossing time. Crossing time. Time to cross the train tracks to wherever that dude was a pervert, apparently in the chapter's Nick read.
Oh my god. Okay.
What do you think Dad's magic chapter was crossing time was about?
I don't want to know that. Oh.
Hey, daughter, I think you might have forgotten something in your bag. I just got done eating at your mom, though, so there's some stuff in my mustache. That's what we call daddy magic. She's like, I don't know why you had to say all that. You could have just told me I forgot my drink.
He just comes out on the stage in the middle of the performance.
Everyone's like, you know what? I'm not a fan of Akane's Rakugo anymore. Bring back Hambo Jackson. At least I knew what I was getting with him.
There was no false advertising with that guy.
Yeah. Daddy magic! The only magic I care about is that gold in the hills!
Everyone's like, oh man, he never lets you down.
He has one mode, but he always hits it. Nothing but the hits with old Hambo Jackson.
Everyone looks at the really stuffy judge who's like, oh, about technique stuff. He's like, no, this scale is not high enough for Hambo Jackson.
Hambo Jackson hits a particular note, but he nails it every time.
He is a true artisan of his craft. Oh man. In the story of Changing Time, the drunk guy gets home.
Changing Time!
Oh, so this. The guy decides not to go to bed and keep on drinking. The critic guy thinks about like, oh, the story with that name is a story that revolves around the banter between a drunken husband and his exasperated wife. It's a difficult story for one so young. So yeah, she gets further into the story, and the woman is clearly not happy that her husband's all drunk. And then he's like, all right, well, can you get me something to nibble on? Oh, we got salmon, right? Wife's just like, I ate it. There's a bunch of soybeans and natto left over, right? I ate it. Well, what about, I ate it. All right, but there's a fun punchline, which is like, I didn't even say it yet. Who do you think you are? Me? Hey, because he eats a lot. Hey. Nice. But the critic is thinking like, this story doesn't suit her. I mean, she's got wide-ranging abilities as a performer, and she's still doing a skillful job performing it, though. So she's quite skilled. And a lot of people are, observing this, are like, she's really made a lot of improvements since the Karaku Cup. But I believe it's Gurika. It's kind of hard to tell from the angle that they chose in this one. He thinks like, compared, however, to Kaichi and to Hikaru, she's lacking impact. And Maikeru, while they're watching it together, says like, up until this point, Akane has never considered what kind of Rakugoka she was. So the stories that I gave to her were meant to make her consider the answer to that question. And so the story she chose might not really match with her nin, but because of her connection with her father, she was able to recreate the familial emotions of the husband and wife. And she sounds even better than when we were doing our final practice session before. If there's a difference between her and the previous two, it's the amount of time that she spent attuned to her own heart. And, he points out, like, look, there's not a lot of, like, big dramatic scenes. There's no rapid developments in this story. If she had gone with a different story in this situation, I still feel like this story would have come out on top, though. He also brings up it specifically Aniki's Changing Time. And Gurika's like, oh, it's his version of it? And Maikeru clarifies, well, all a lesson can do is train you on the form of a story. You gotta practice it for years to attune it to your heart, trying out little things here and there. That way, a story truly takes on a flavor of its own. And she's only at the starting line of the process. Which is similar to the comparison that Akane drew before about how a story is a friend and your friendship changes over time as you grow with it. But he also realizes that Akane has been going after her roots with her father since the day that Shinta was forced to quit Rakugo. So maybe it's different. Maybe she's further along than they suspect. And Akane, while she's performing, is thinking about Hikaru because it's an important thing. It's important, Quinn. You can't deny the rivalry between these two women. It's the important thing that's going on in the story arc.
It's red hot.
That's right. But she's also thinking about what Maikaru had told her of like, hey, you got to figure out what kind of Rakugoka you are, and she thinks I still don't know the answer, but I've got a reason for being a Rakugoka. And I've got an art that I want to express to others, and that much will never waver because I was charmed by Dad's magic. And she thinks in that moment about what Shinta was thinking, which was, I've got to be a Shinichi or I can't make my family happy. And it seems that Shikama has caught on to this as he's observing things because he thinks, what's the image of Shinta that you see right now? And seemingly the image he's focusing on is that desperate Shinta right before he failed and faltered. So a little bit of an ominous note to end the chapter on, like, oh man, maybe her focus is on the wrong things with this.
Yeah, it's very interesting. There's so much to like dig into with Akane's kind of weird mental state when it comes to her father, and I do love how they're like, oh, she's just kind of at the beginning of this, but actually maybe she's a lot further on than we think because she's been thinking about her dad all the time since she was like a little kid. Like this has been what she has been focused on, lasered in on. So it would be kind of weird if like she didn't have her shit together exactly right here, because it feels like she should have processed some of these thoughts. Maybe not everything. I think there's still a lot of confused feelings there. But I am curious if there's like an intentional decision on her part to channel this version of Shinta.
Yeah. Well, we'll find out soon, I'm sure. This is definitely an interesting start into Akane's performance. And it's a lot. I do like that as compared to the others that we've seen. It's a lot less about like technique and establishing who the character is, because of course we know who Akane is at this point, and more like this is what this means to her, and establishing stakes in that way.
Yeah, and you know what? For the being named Daddy Magic, this chapter wasn't that sexy. I'm gonna say that. I feel like
I refuse to offer explanation to those people who are not familiar with what you're talking about.
There's no mustache anywhere in here. I feel like this is a big letdown.
Yeah.
I had to get Blue Box. There was a chapter of Blue Box, right?
There was.
Okay.
Yes, it's chapter 108.
I meant to open it and I forgot to.
Chapter 108. It's already settled. Chinatsu is in class. Nagisa heads up to her and sees that she's on her phone. Is like, "Oh, who are you messaging?" And for a brief second, it seemed like it might be like, "Oh, is she messaging Taiki?" Like, no, she's messaging Yumika.
Yeah, it's good to show that she's a full fucking character with fucking relationships that aren't Taiki.
It's amazing how little touches like that add so much to a series.
You're like, oh my god, she seems like a real fucking human.
And like the things that were at stake in previous chapters can have consequence later in the story. Whereas like, oh hey, Yumika said she was going to try out for basketball with her new school. She is doing so. Hooray! So that's nice. And Chinatsu is referred to her as her rival now, which is cute. It's nice. We jump ahead to them getting to practice. Chinatsu is named the new captain of the basketball team. And she, gives a little speech to the team, just saying, like, look, I understand this is a big responsibility, but I also think that falls on all of us as much as it does on me. Making every shot that we can with confidence, and we're going to practice, so don't break under any kind of pressure. I want to work hard to create that kind of environment. So she's, prepping everyone for it seems like she's basically saying like, we're going to do things my way, but also we're in this together. So it seems like a good start for this. practice. And she also says, like, hey, this summer, let's win at nationals. Also establishing goals. So,
Yep.
Meanwhile, Taiki is at badminton practice, and Nishida says, like, hey, these are the guidelines for the next month's first-year tournament. It's only sponsored by a small prefecture, but you better brace yourself. And he thinks about Sajikawa, his rival in his year in badminton, and just kind of thinks about it for a second.
Is his name Hyodo?
Right, that guy. Yes,
I think so. I can't remember. I can't remember if Hyodo is. There were two people at the rival school. One was like around his like teacher's age, and then one was like around his age. And like one was. Right. I feel like one was Husei, or then one was Hyodo, something like that.
So they're both practicing, both Taiki and Shinatsu. They kind of pass by each other in the gym while they're running around going to practice and stuff. And someone realizes what has happened. And kind of shockingly, it's Matsuoka, a basketball dude. He kind of just watches them just pass by each other really briefly. Later on, Taiki is just going out running, and Matsuoka runs up next to him and also it's like
just passes him. Yeah, just passes him straight up and immediately Taiki's
on your left. Yeah, on your left.
Sorry, Yusa.
Yeah. So Taiki's trying to keep passing back, and he's like, "Why are you making this a competition?" It's like, "I'm just running. And there's no prize at the end. I've got no obligation to compete with you." And Taiki's like, "I bet this is about Chinatsu Senpai again." Oh, really? Self-conscious, huh? Especially considering it's already settled, right? So what? And so he says, "I wanted to see the girls play at the Winter Cup really badly. Chinatsu must have been really awesome on the court." And Taiki's like, oh, okay. He's just thinking about the ticket that, I won from him. I thought he was on to our relationship. And then he says to Taiki, "I'll have you know, I'm pretty popular with the girls." But he says, like when I was in junior high, I would get asked out by, I got asked out by a girl in high school when I was in junior high. And like, look, I like girls. Being asked out by cute girls, that made me really happy. But, I would have to, go to practice. And also, Chinatsu didn't have any interest in me. She was focused on her goal. And when I watched her play basketball, it made me realize that I'm into people who are focused on what they love. And that's why I decided to study abroad when I left. I thought if I could get good at basketball, then Chinatsu, who puts basketball first, would notice me. And he's not saying any of this out loud to Taiki. He's just thinking this to himself. And he also acknowledges, like, when I got back, this guy had come along. So then he's like, all right, hey, let's make it a competition. Let's go to that bridge. When does there go? But he realizes, like, I made all that fuss over nothing because, I fell for Natsu and she does her own thing. So I thought, oh, I should do my own thing too. And then I heard about Yumeka and I figured we couldn't do anything about it. Some people are just that way. I couldn't do anything. But then I heard that she was playing basketball again. This guy stayed close enough so he could run to Natsu and support her if he had to. So he looks at Taiki and he says in English, "Don't hold her back. I won't forgive you if you do." And of course, Taiki doesn't understand. He's like, "What did you say?" It's like,
but Nick, everyone's speaking in English in this page.
Whoop, 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 whoop. Taiki, after they've had their sprinting competition, collapses on a bench. Chinatsu comes out and is like, "Oh, I knew you'd be out here. I knew you'd be out running like an idiot." So Taiki thinks, like, I better not bring up Matsuoka. And then she says, like, "Hey, Taiki, it's your birthday this weekend, right? Keep your schedule for the night open." Taiki's like, "Okay." Get to spend a birthday with a girlfriend. Nice little chapter. It was unexpected to have this little development. Like you said earlier about Chinatsu, it's nice to have three-dimensional characters.
Yeah, there's a lot. I really do appreciate that we got a whole lot to her character, and I think, I don't know, it's just a cute little chapter. I do like that the weird basketball rival who was never like really that bad of a dude in the grand scheme of things, just like a little bit of like a pushy guy, was like enough to be like, you know what, I really always admired this chick and she's with somebody else, so make her happy, dude. I don't know what to tell you.
Oh boy, it's Morgan time. It's chapter 31 of Cipher Academy.
I got actually a little excited when you told me it was Morgan time. I was like, I love Morgan time.
A war that happens a second time will also happen a third time.
That's true, Nick. If I kill you twice, you come back automatically for a third try.
I'm not sure I'm thrilled about this example you just named.
It could happen with anything. Like, theoretically, like, I drop an anvil on your head and you die, and then I drop a second anvil on you, you die. You get to come back, so I can drop an anvil on you a third time. It's like any scenario works. Like, if I ran you over with my car and then ran you over again, you could come back and I can run you over a third time.
I don't know how I feel about any of these.
I drown you in a puddle of urine, and then you drown, and like I drown you again, and then you would come back, and I could theoretically.
Who's providing all this urine?
Don't ask questions you don't want to know the answer to, Nick. All right. Look, I've given you a lot of details about your future I shouldn't have already. I think anymore, and I might start causing some time shenanigans.
I think that I'm going to have to leave my schedule open for all this dying I'm going to do, apparently. So, yeah. Beginning of this chapter is with a character who, thank God, she's named on the first page because I would not have remembered her. It's Botayama. It's a pigtailed girl whom we have seen do nothing in this series thus far. But she's a member of Class 1A. She comes in to deliver awful news to Irohazaka, who is just kind of hanging out with Ensa. And there's a really weird... One of those really weird, just like meta moments that the series does sometimes. And he's just like, oh, I was just thinking of all the many characters who always look calm. You're really one of Class A's treasures. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? So Iroha's like, oh, okay. So who won the battle between classes D and F? And she's like, that's the thing. Class D invited F to form an alliance, and they've accepted. In other words, DNF's United Team is now D2F, and I don't think that that's very PG, personally. But then again, we are a code school. It could mean anything.
Yeah, who knows?
And that's not all, because Karigane, another girl in their class, comes in and says, I went to scout the battle between classes B and C, and they've also formed an alliance.
Uh-oh.
So now, in the three-way final round, it's actually going to be Class A against two different allied fronts against us. Wow. This sure seems like a series that's not going to last a whole lot longer all of a sudden.
I mean, it's that I don't know if this necessarily says anything to that. I think it was always going to be very weird if they were like, here are these cool new characters and they're cool new character designs, but you know, 3 of them are going to be knocked out because they face other people that aren't main characters. Like, I felt like they were going to do something like this.
Yep. Ensa objects to this development, saying that this is not fair because they're clearly going to just dissolve their alliances after the final round's over. But Iroha says, like, look, making alliance, making peace, that's also a part of war. So we're just going to have to deal with it. And I feel like this is my fault because I was only ever actually thinking about fighting Class E up to this point. Yosaimura and Ananimi requested come into the room. And they're like, yeah, well, that's right, Iroha. You might not have tried to make an alliance with Class C, but you also certainly wouldn't have attained such a total victory that eliminated that option. So we'll just have to gather up the pride of Class A and overcome the factions that way by gathering our 6 strongest. And Iroha's like, oh, man, why 6? Oh, the rules changed for this round because we wanted to have 6 characters of relevance on our side for this one in the story instead of 5. Okay, so
fair enough. I mean, can you argue with that? Really, Nick? Can we argue with it?
So
you
Yusam
argue with the Putaku? He loves it. He loves that there are 6.
I would never.
Actually, he would love that there were 5. He has 5 everything. So actually, he's furious at this. Nick, he does not want to look at this screen.
All right. it's okay. Maybe if there are 6, then you'll have more, and that's like having more money, though.
He's on board now.
Okay.
You've turned him.
All right. So it's really hard for me to do that. Yosamura says, "I'll be one of the 6." All right. I mean,
Sure.
And anonymity request is like, yeah, and I feel the same way. You should be overwhelmed with joy because your former foe had a change of heart and returned to your side. Okay, thanks. Thanks for just spelling it out for us.
Makes sense. I get it.
Everyone kind of automatically assumes that Iroha and Toshisai are going to be 2 of the remaining 4 members, so they need to pick out 2 more. And so everyone kind of like starts thinking about this, like, oh, if it's based on grades, it could be like the 2 of us, or it could be Mamushi Hichimeki, but the top choice would be Nohime. And they also think about Oboro and Koshibai, and they're like, they don't take solo group battles and stuff. But Iroha says, look, if we're talking about our strongest members, she's the one person we can't omit. The one who made sure we'd never be able to negotiate with Classy in the first battle, the trauma producer. And they go to see Tayu, and she says, nah, I don't feel like bullying the weak. So, it's like, first of all, point 1.
Yeah. Score 1 already for you. You're doing great.
So Iroha's gone to see her, and it's like, look, I understand that the reason you fought in the first battle was just for Omamuro-san's sake, right? No one's expecting you to take part in the final round. That's why it'll work as an ambush. It'll be the last thing they expect, which is why we'll do it.
They wouldn't just run it back, so to speak.
They wouldn't just, run the play that won them the title.
This is your issue. You see, you think they're going to use Jerome Bettis. What if they didn't? They would never expect us to use him after he's already scored a touchdown. 2 Jerome Bettises in 1 game? Never. That is how we defeat them.
It's not like Jerome Bettis came up in a time where you would just constantly hand a running back a ball over and over and over again.
I know we just gave him the ball that he scored, but what's the likelihood we just do that again? Really? And that's where our machinations begin. Now the game is truly afoot.
Bill Cowher was a lot more nefarious than I ever suspected. There's a much more of a black-hearted approach to this is the play we will run.
He's like, my pencil made of pure elephant ivory has arrived. I shall check this box that says, hand it off to Bettis. Now I'll twirl my mustache that I'd like to call Daddy's magic.
I mean, who else would you expect to... Of course I'm evil. What else would you expect from someone who drafted Ben Roethlisberger?
Yeah. I'm from Pittsburgh. What do you want from me? They're like, you're not from Pittsburgh. You just coached there, I think.
That's what you think.
Little do you realize I've had Pittsburgh DNA implanted into me. I'm more fry on a sandwich than person at this point. Or salad, both are equally appropriate interpretations of Pittsburgh cuisine.
Oh, all right. Oh, God. So, Iroha says, like, they'll never expect us to run our strongest play twice.
I was like, look at us on this.
So you guys is like, all right, if you insist, then yeah, you'll have to go through the one that I serve, though, because I just serve Otoshisai's orders. But Iroha says, like, yeah, there's no point in that. It's my fault. We're in this crisis. I want you to help us, Yugata, as my friend. So Yugata stares him down and says, yeah, you're pretty good at reading people's expressions, right? What am I thinking about right now? And Iroha stares at her and says, you think about Dyson's air purifying headphones. All right. He's correct too.
It was a very weird. Like, I was like, "Is there? You're being plugged for this?" Is this like, they're like, "I know the only thing that gets you out of bed. Raid Shadow Legends. Sign up now, and you can get 10 free pulls and a legendary character."
Join now to experience this world-spanning RPG. Blah blah blah. Oh my god, I've listened to so many of those ads. Oh my god, that's like going to be this generation's version of like infomercials that you can't get out of your head. Like instead of
It's
like
just ad
Billy
copy
Mays
for Shadow Legends.
Yeah, instead of like Billy Mays here, or it's like oh the Sham Wow or any of that stuff's like 800-588-2300. It's like no. Raid Shadow Legends. People are going to know that speech verbatim. Kids who are growing up, they're like in their teens now. When they hit 30, they're going to just like have compilations of that, and they're just going to like just be mindlessly reciting it because they've heard it so many times while they've been watching PewDiePie or whatever the fuck it is kids do these days. I don't know. I'm old. So
I was gonna say you're making yourself sound ancient by starting to throw names out, but go for it. I support you with every step.
Yeah, that's right. From Shawan Fizzlebeef. So he challenges you got, or rather, yeah. So he says, I figured that you would try and decline doing this, so I brought this. And she's like, oh, you brought me Dyson air purifying headphones? No. I brought the cards for the verbal slip cut by half question and answer session. Thing that traumatized him.
Oh no.
So, there's a weird moment where you got to checks under the table, which might suggest that she's checking for a spy from Class E, given all the times that we've established that there was a spy from Class E under the tables that they've been around.
I do love that they now have to like establish characters being like, all right, there. Like,
all right,
first and foremost, one, you couldn't just like kick your knee up if someone be like, ow.
Just people like occasionally just like drop knives under the table now.
Ouch, my back. I mean, table.
Oh man, I thought that table said something, but I must have imagined
it just said table. It means it's good.
So you got to says like, all right, 2 conditions. First one, I'll actually let you pick your syllables this time, and I'll use the remainder. And I was like, all right. And she says, second condition, if you lose, you can never call me your friend again. Which is a follow-up from the previous chapter where the stakes were established that if they did not win, then Omuro, they couldn't call her their friend anymore. And they were like, no, she's right. This is serious. There's absolutely, we have to do this. So they square off. Syllables are selected. Yosamura is watching from behind. Iroha is like, you made a weird selection. This is odd. It's more random than it would be if things were randomly chosen. Why did you pick things out this way? You got to rattles off some questions and says stuff, asking weird things like, how did the thief escape from imprisonment? What's the pen name of the father of political manga? Who do you think is cutest in our class? And Iroha goes joip with his hands and then proceeds to answer by, and I kid you not, he tilts the syllables he's been given into more valid answers. And everyone's just like, I guess, yeah, he's doing weird verbal inflections.
This manga is so much. Ain't no rule in the book that says a dog can't play basketball. I guess this works.
He went in response to being asked, like, how did the thief escape from embarrassment? And Nero's like, maybe she was let out for good behavior. Also, he refuses to answer who is the cutest in the class because
everyone's equal to him.
Yeah, he's like, if I just cringe enough, I can get out of this trap, and then no one will know. So, they analyze like, oh, he tilted the syllables because that's valid, I guess. Ain't no rule in basketball says you can't do that. So then it's like, okay, so he specifically chose syllables so that he could do that, so that there are syllables in his arsenal that he could turn that way. But Yosemura is wrong in that analysis. Iroha specifically chose these syllables so he could ask this question, which is, Tayutan, Toshisai-san is your friend. Why don't you just call her Kyorin? And everyone's like, what? And Yugata's like, I accept it. My loss? No, I accept you. Just like,
fucking puts down the cards in a dramatic way.
Yeah. Has to even say something that lame in a cool way too. And she says like, "Yep, I'll go with you into the finals. That's what I promised. And once you gain 5 more levels, I'll play with you." Which, all right. But then Iroha's like, "So it's okay for me to keep on calling you my friend?" And Yugata says, "I only wish I could interpret things as conveniently as you. It's like you're using a cheat code." He did cheat, so yes.
Yeah. Whoa, Nick, how dare you? He just tilted everything. It's the same thing. You were like, oh, I chose E, but if I turn that capital E on the side, it's basically an M. I can use M's now, too.
I thought you said Weast.
Flip that M upside down, it's a W, baby. I just got access to half the alphabet. You can't stop me now.
Also, it's a 3.
Yeah.
So some of the people realize, like, Yukata could have still answered that question if she, especially like, hey, even if she just had the 23 syllables, but maybe she was so against fudging her answers, so she wanted to answer so honestly that she was like, I just don't want to answer this. So she just chose not to. And so the team is chosen. It's Yosemura, Toshisai, enemy requested, Yugata, Nohime, who has done nothing in this series so far, but is supposed to be one of the strongest members of the class.
We had that one creepy chapter where she was like, I'm blind.
Yeah. And Iroha. And so it's they're going up against the 2 united fronts in this, and they strike a big old pose.
I fucking love enemy requested. It's like, yeah, she's got her arms up in the air. She's like, yeah, everyone praise your love on me.
She's gonna do her move from the top rope, but she's got to do her signature taunt first.
Yep.
So, yeah.
It raised up her SmackDown meter. All right, we've only got like 20 minutes left. We have like a bunch of manga still, so let's talk about Head Gil.
Yeah. Chapter 3, Gil and Sana. We are introduced to probably going to be our first like major supporting character in this manga, Sana, as Gil is continuing to like wander around. He comes across a town that's full of quote unquote peddlers who don't understand him. He's looking for an inn to stay at, and Sana comes up to him. They're wearing a helmet with horns on it that hides their face, and they also have a cool cloak that looks like bat wings a little bit. And they say, "Oh, I know an inn you could stay at." Takes them to an inn. Oh man, it's immediately shady. There is a large, intimidating man who is eating at a table and chowing down on food and stuff. It turns out Sana's got an arrangement worked out with the innkeeper, and is like, "Hey, I got you a customer. Give me some money." The guy's like, "But the guy you brought here is awful." He's like, "Give me money." And the guy's like, "You're gonna be punished for what you're doing and stealing and stuff." And Sana's like, whatever. Bye. Leaves. There is a legitimately cute exchange where Gil's like, "Can I pet that dog?" And the guy just steals his food. And she's like, "Oh, okay. So we're trading. Cool." He takes his food and soup. And the guy immediately starts trying to beat him up. Sana refers to Gil as Otterface. Okay. And leaves, goes to a little hideout that they have in the woods where they have stolen some stuff from Gil, and also they've got like some stuff being written on the snow, like all sorts of runes writing out lots and lots and lots of stuff in the snow. They go through their haul that they got from Gil, take off the helmet, and reveal that they've got long hair. No gendered pronouns are used for Sana during all this, though, so I'm not using any because I don't know yet. And Sana flashes back to their past, where something bad happened after they were stealing, and how they had to apparently relinquish all their earthly possessions to the king, and things were really bad for them. and they were told by their parents not to trust anyone and to be strong, so you may know true freedom. And then they left. Bye! Had to go do stuff. And so Sana's been on their own for 2 years. And then suddenly Gil comes up out of the snow, which he has been known to do more and more, and is like, oh, I dropped my book, which Sana stole. So I was looking around for it, and then looks up around and is like, oh, where are all these words? Wait a minute. History of the Rani Clan by Sana Rani. You wrote this? And then Sana's like, stop. No, don't read any of that. No, stop it. But then all of a sudden, there's an avalanche, and a lot of the snow that Sana has been writing this stuff down in collapses. The guy from the inn has shown up, having followed Gil to the person who has also been stealing from him, and ties Sana up with his dog's chain, takes back some stuff, and is like, oh, so you're from the Rani, huh? I know about that clan of criminals who tried to kill the king. I'm going to roast you to the bone and feed you to my dog, because I'm a good person. And so Gil's like, hey, even if Sana's family, did that, that's got nothing to do with them. So just give back what you stole, Sana. I'll lend you the book later. Because Gil is a sweet boy like that. Sana, however, spits in the guy's face and says, hey, the king stole everything from the Rani, stole our freedom, our pride. So what's wrong with taking back what the king stole for the people he rules? Who cares about a few stupid coins? Which is, I think, actually a pretty cool moment. Guy's gonna choke out Sana, and so Gil saves them by doing a quick dash, cutting off the guy's clothes, and then touching the really cold metal of his axe to the guy's back to make him run away, which...
Defeated forever, yes.
Yep. Sana's gotten free of the collar that was put on them, and also has stolen some jewels from the guy in the midst of the chaos. So Gil swipes back and is like, look, I'm going to return this guy's stuff. You can't steal from people. So Sana's like, oh, fine. Come on, Gil, let me keep it. When my big sisters get back, I need to make sure they can live happy lives. Gil hesitates. Sana swipes it back. Aha! Bye-bye! And Gil's like, no, wait, stop. And chases after them, manages to catch their cloak on his axe and pin them down. And it's like, I know that you're always, lying and you're saying that I shouldn't trust you, but I know that you were telling the truth right just now. It felt like the truth. And, he basically starts calling out Sana, like, I know you're acting like you're just looking out here for yourself and everything, but I can tell that there is something that you deeply care about, and you've done all this stuff. You could have bought all these things, but you don't own anything, so I'm going to trust you. And, but Sana just thinks about how their family told them, not to trust anyone, tries to run away again, then suddenly collapses because the collar was spiked on the inside, and so they start to fall over a cliff, and Gil has to dash after them, and that's where we end the chapter, is Gil trying to leap after Sana to save them.
Yeah, I feel like we're still kind of in this place where it's little side stories and little nuggets of what this whole character and everything is going to be about. I felt like this chapter, more than the previous two, felt very I don't want to say generic, but it felt like it lacked a bit of what what little stuff kind of made the last couple chapters interesting for me. And I mean, this is heartbreaking, Nick. We're on chapter 3. I don't know if I care about what happens to Sana, so...
Heartless.
I know. Well, look, I still don't know if they ever rescued that kidnapped girl from Kill Blue. I never read it. I just assumed... I assume bad ending stuff happened at that point.
I will say that I think that this was actually probably the chapter of this series that I was the most into, but this manga has not really been my speed up to this point, and I do agree with you that everything does feel kind of just generic and just kind of there thus far, so I'm not really interested in continuing to read it either, I admit.
All right, well, I think that kind of settles it. We're not going to continue reading I Said Gil.
Yeah. I don't think that it's bad, but it's just not super memorable for me.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, let's talk about New Exorcist.
Nick, this is memorable.
Only talk about quality manga on this show.
This is what...
this is probably the best chapter of this manga so far.
This is what the Italians call the good.
Yes. Okay.
You ever gone into an Italian restaurant and they're like, let me give you that a good. And you're like,
Oh,
I
boy.
haven't ordered anything. What do you mean? What do you mean, sir? And then they come back with a tube and you're like, I don't know what to do.
Oh boy. It's chapter 9 of New Exorcist Provisional Club Enrollment. Nue has offered a solution to Shiroha, who is trying to, forcibly make a contract with her, and Nue has just proven I'm totes stronger than anything in this series, so good luck with that. So she proposes, if you beat Gakuro in a battle, I'll make that contract with you. Immediately, Gakuro's like, she's gonna kick my ass, though! But Nue says, it'll take place 10 days from now, so I'm gonna make Gakuro really strong in that time. And then immediately Gakuro's like, oh no! The me in 10 days must have worked his butt off! Yeah, okay.
Alright.
Gakuro is hesitant about this, but Nue mentally speaks to him and says, this is going to be a great shortcut to make you grow, so come on. Yeah. And she says, also, would you like to join the occult club? And Shiro's like, I will decline your offer, but I accept the duel. Goodbye. It goes off. Nue insists to Gakuro that he tell her what time the club meets, but he's like, but next day, I told her. I told her because Nue told me to. What is she planning? Shiro has actually shown up to the club meeting. It's just all the girls in the series thus far just playing, I think, Wii Classic together because they've got those steering wheel extension things and they're playing a game. And so all three of them are playing together. Shiroha flashes back to basically being told by the head, like, yeah, get close to Nue. Yes, join whatever group that she's in. Also, she's not going to tell us anything, so make the boy talk instead. So this is definitely so she can infiltrate. It's not going to lead to her forming bonds of friendship or anything. Gakuro is told, like, oh, hey, come on in, sit down. And Nue warns him, you'll be targeted by the person sitting next to you, so choose wisely. All right. But Shiroha is like, there's an empty seat next to me. There's a lot of sitting next to each other that's going on between these two. That's like 90% of their bond thus far as they sit down next to each other. Gakuro tries to be like, I'm fine. And just sit down. Then, God damn it. Suo says, I've been thinking about how we can deepen our friendship, so let's go to the beach.
Okay.
And everyone's like, And it's just like, oh, okay. Well, all right, the truth is actually that I was assigned a security job at the beach, so I'm just doing it for work.
I do appreciate the honesty.
Yeah. So, Shiroha speaks of it as like, I mean, I feel like you should be able to handle that yourself. I'm not going, and I don't have any intention of getting any friendlier with any of you. It's cold. So I was like, all right, well, I mean, it's a few days off, so maybe you'll change your mind. And they hang out there for a bit longer. After it's done, Shiroha and Gakuro are left on their own. And so he's like, oh, you're on security duty? No, it's finished. Let's leave together. And of course, they walk home together because she's trying to, get closer to Gakuro so that he'll confide all Nue's secrets to her. Mm-hmm. And so Gakuro's like, oh, we're walking home next to each other. I've got to do something to break the tension. Do you like math?
I love he does scream it. It is in all capital letters. He is very extreme about this. Do you like math? Nothing else. No one says anything. No referencing it. It's wonderful. This boy is the epitome of have never interacted with Goyle before. Do not know what to do.
She literally says nothing to him.
It's perfect. I love that this series is slowly going from like so bad it's good to like I think I might just kind of like this stupid ass series.
Gakuro is also acting under instructions from Nue to get closer to Shiroha, and in fact,
series is just 3 women pushing this boy to be like, go hang out with this girl, please.
Kiss that one. Just that one.
Yeah. It's just a lot of women playing hot potato with this kid that they're like, I'll be friendly with you, but I will not fuck you.
I just want to watch.
Oh no, I don't like this anymore.
I feel like I'm being called out too harshly for that. All right, so Shiroha agrees to go with Gakuro to a cafe because he knew I gave him a coupon. And so he's just like, all right, I've been told to find out stuff from him. And Gakuro's like, all right, I've been told to get close to her. But he's like, oh, there's no way she'll accept. They're at the cafe. Their order's being taken. And so then, like, Shiroha's like looking over the menu, and very, very nicely, she says, how much is the meal coupon worth? Like, I don't want to waste your money, kind of thing. So he looks at it and is like, oh, it's for 3,000 yen. And then he sees, somehow, never having looked at this giant blazing icon in the corner before, it's for couples only. And he realizes this all at once.
He realizes very specifically that a kiss is needed when paying the bill, a kiss on the cheek. So he realizes that it's like, oh no, this is a couple thing. Oh, also I need someone we need to kiss each other. Oh, fuck.
Shiroha is apparently a wizard, and it's just like, oh, 2 pancake orders, 2 cream sodas. It comes out exactly the amount of money that's on the coupon. But then Gakuro, he does come clean right away, and is like, I'm so sorry. So he shows her the coupon. She sees it, and Shiroha just very dead behind the eyes looks at it, immediately gets it from the seat. It's like, yeah, okay, can you cancel? Or the waiter's already back. They serve too quickly. So it's like, oh no, we've been served already. And Shiroha's like, I don't have any money on me. I'm sorry. So Yajima's like, oh no, what do? I have some money in my wallet. I could do what I can to pay off the rest.
Do you have a job that requires screeching and absolutely zero social skills? Ah!
I'll wait until Fujino goes to the restroom and pay then. Why? Why? I guess because he's like, I'm going to give up like my half of this.
He's like, I'm just gonna. He wants to make it so she can just leave without any issue, and he'll figure out a way to handle the rest of the bill.
Right. But Shiroha like looks down at her amazing looking fluffy and whipped cream covered pancakes, and is just like, Yajima, you're a good person. When we were discussing back at the club, we just kind of discussing work, and you were the only one who was actually thinking about helping out Suo. And Yaj was like, oh, right, she can read people's emotions. Or she was being observant. Like, you don't need, whatever.
That's the only way she could pinpoint this. She must have used magic powers.
There's no way that she could have detected what my thoughts were when I said, oh, okay, how can I help? How could she have known I wanted to help from those words?
She must be a sorceress!
Also, she knows that my dad's dead! How did she know that? But Shiro starts to get like, I'm the cold, detached character who's going to warm up because of my exposure to the hero, us, and says, I look, in the world that I live in, people like you die sooner than later. And I don't know the reason why I knew I proposed that duel, but you should withdraw from it. You're just being used by her. No matter how intelligent the spirit may be, they're still monsters on a conceptual level. There's no exception, even for Niue. The one you admire and call your mentor is just a highly intelligent monster. And I don't want someone so foolish to be forced to help me. Which is like, yeah, all right.
Fair enough. I could see your thought process.
And she also says that she's going to, quote, take responsibility for her own failure. She's like, look, you're only here because Niue told you to be, right? So I'm leaving. But before she can go, Gakuro stops her and says, like, look, thanks for the advice. I want to show my gratitude. So I want you to take this. And he puts his money on the table for her order and says, but my feelings won't change. Niue is on the side of us humans. She was sealed by humans many years ago.
She's disguising herself as my sister who's not related to me by blood for my benefit.
Gakuro, that's really hot. Do you understand that?
What you said right now was the hottest thing I've ever heard since Daddy's Magic.
I know that she has every reason to resent humans for sealing her away, but she likes video games, so she likes humans. And I will defeat you, Fujino, and have you recognize Nue for who she really is. And so this does, like, give Shiroha some pause, long enough for the server to come by again. And she says, could we get the bill? Thanks for offering to pay my half, Yajima. That was rather manly of you. But it wasn't necessary.
Yeah, I do.
It wasn't necessary.
She smacks him on the cheek, leaning in bodily far too closely. You could have tilted your head forward a little bit
Your neck
more.
is a joint. Like, you can move this, separate to the rest of your body. But she goes full tits out to be like, mwah.
It's honestly impressive that she presses so much of her chest against Yajima's while kissing him in behind his ear, frankly. She, like, leans in and then cricks her neck around to get back there.
I love it too, because then we get like the speed line camera pull into the manager who's like, marvelous.
This character who we have not seen.
I'm a weird little freak who likes to watch people kiss. Marvelous.
The amount of money that we lose from orders like this, where we just give out $30 coupons. I love watching couples kiss each other in the cheek.
Manager, why do we do this? Quiet. You know my name when I'm here is Daddy Magic. That's why I have this mustache.
So they leave. Yajima tries to apologize.
Tell that couple over there we'll pay for their meal if they start kissing each other.
Yeah.
No,
Shiro.
I don't want to be a part of this anymore, Daddy Magic.
Shiro, it's like, you don't like to lose, do you, Yajima? Hey, should we go to the beach after all? I'll go if you go. You know, I told you to befriend me, right? So I'll play along. I've become slightly interested in you too. Is she actually interested, or is it because of her mission? Either way, we're apparently getting a beach episode.
Yeah,
chapter 10.
It's been 10 chapters, Nick. They gotta do a beach chapter at some point. I'm very curious to see what the art looks like when the characters are in swimsuits, because the art's been one of the hardest part with the series, and limbs in proportion. You can hide a bit of that when you put clothing on your characters, but when you take all that clothing off, it's going to be very interesting to see if these girls still even maintain a human appearance, or if I don't know. I mean, maybe I should presume, but it is one of these things I'm very curious on, because a lot of the time it feels like they don't look very good, even when you disguise a bit of it with clothing to hide the lines.
Yes. It has been kind of distracting that as sexy as the series tries to be, the girls are actually very covered up almost the entire time.
Well, no, let's not forget we saw an upskirt shot of one of them, Nick.
Yep.
That was Nui's work. The wind.
Yep. Let's do Tenmaku Cinema.
no follow-up to that. Just yes,
Nope.
correct. That
Chapter
did it.
13.
That did happen.
Tenmaku Cinema Chapter 13. It's a flashback chapter. Tenmaku is hanging out with Hajime in his home. It's after shooting's done for the day. He's going over the script, and he makes a note of I've just realized you've written the bare minimum number of characters. We can just barely scrape by with the shooting locations by being a little bit creative. You've created a minimalistic cinematic world where even middle schoolers could film it. And Tenmaku is like, yes. I wrote this so that you could film it. Each project has its own budget, its own schedule, so creating the story within those constraints is part of a screenwriter's skill. So then Hajime is like, oh, wait, Tenmaku, why do you think you appeared before me? I mean, I feel why with someone as talented as you, I don't know if I necessarily believe you worked with Ryushi Okawa, but why would you want to come to an ordinary middle school student? And Tenmaku starts to answer, but he stops as we launch into our flashback, which is following Tenmaku from when he was in elementary school and was hanging around sets with Ryushi Arakawa was like, you made it and stuff. And so we get some of the backstory, which is that apparently Tenmaku's mother was an actress who took her own life several years before. And there was some sort of huge scandal involving her, and a famous actor, Shirakawa, worked closely with her, so he decided to take her in. And Tenmaku, of course, ended up growing up on movie sets as a result of that. There's, like, there are bits where Shirakawa actually, like, asks for his input, and he's like, hey, Taki, which one of these do you think makes sense? And he's like, this one. Because if you say the line like it's not sad, it makes it sound sadder. Which, given we don't actually see the line, kind of loses a little bit of the effect, but it shows like he's got those really sharp instincts and stuff. And eventually he even got to hang out in the writer's room. He got very, very into movies, becoming a cinephile, and then a teenager who looks about like how you would expect Tenmaku would have looked in life.
Yeah.
Very, very long hair. Posing like he's Batman on any pier that it seems like he gets the chance. And then, Shirakawa's like, hey, I'm going to be putting your name in the credits on our next film, The Fang. And Tenmaku's like, nah, I don't want to expose my name to the world. And if I use the name Shirakawa, then people are going to, like, poke their nose into our lives and stuff. But Shirakawa just, like, knocks him on the head. It's like, look, you can't hide behind this. I'll just make a bang-up pen name for you. Hold this name high and keep growing as a writer. And so he came up with the name Tenmaku for him, which would explain one of the reasons why Hajime couldn't find out anything about him, was that this is a very recent pen name for him. And then we flash forward to, Tenmaku's dead. He's hanging out in the theater that he was bound to, watching a Ryu Shirakawa movie that's on the movie. And he's like, this is the first scene that used lines that I wrote. He gets a bit nostalgic. And he's like, man, I'm sorry, old man. I can't believe that I'm the one who went first. And you're still getting the Fang's final draft, though. I promise. But then, of course, he learned that Shirakawa died, and he learned how much time had passed. And he's like, I don't see any movies titled The Fang and all these things, and all of Hajime's movies and stuff. Did he never shoot it because of me? He thinks about that. But this is him we're talking about. So after I died, he must have been really depressed. But as he's looking around through stuff, he's like, why did I only come back now? And he's had some time to think about this, basically, is the point, even before Hajime asked him. And he just thinks that in the theater, he found him, and he just saw Hajime watching the movies and just crying full rivers of tears, being very emotionally into it. And he's like, I met this boy on that day, in that spot. And he reacted this way to one of the scripts that you wrote. So he's kind of just sensed a bond that way. And so Tenmaku just looks at Hajime in the present, and he says, eventually the Fang will need a director. And he's pointing at Hajime. But then he says, and until I find them, you're the perfect person to kill time.
Whoa, set up an expectation.
And so they bicker a bit to close out the chapters, but this is really nice. I like that we get this thing from Tenmaku's perspective, and I do really like the idea that like he's doing this so that Hajime gets his feet wet, so to speak, and it's like this is the guy who's got to make this movie with me, but he's not ready yet.
Now, Nick, this is of course the same team from Food Wars, and you know what my favorite dish, the one that I want the most from Food Wars was?
The one with honey mustard in it.
That's number 2. Number 1, of course, is copium. I really wanted to eat that. I read this chapter and I was like, oh god, this series is ending. It's already going into the flashback of Tenmaku. But then the end is like, no, here's a goal beyond the shore. And you know what, Nick? This series was only 5th from the bottom this week at the rankings. So we're moving on up. What step by step we're going forward, little by little we're gaining ground. Every prayer is a powerful weapon, something, walls of Jericho. Anyway, this series is going to be sticking around, Nick. I'm calling it now.
I'm going to not say anything. Oh man, it's the part of the Elusive Samurai that everybody loves. Chapter 117, Confirmation 1337. A new wacky character was introduced.
Hey, whoa, we met this guy before. What are you talking about?
I guess we did. Very briefly.
He showed up in like that one chapter with Takauji.
He's the really good archer that only the one guy could defend against and stuff. And he shows up. He's wearing like rags that hide his appearance and everything. He's very intense. He demands that Tokiyuki apologize and like apologize like strenuously and stuff. And then after Tokiyuki is kind of like browbeaten into apologizing for acting kind of presumptuous by sending a letter off to the emperor, he's like, "All right, good. I'm Kita Batake Akie, the Shinjufu commander-in-chief." And we get some things that's like, oh man, this guy was good. He's a good governor and good commander and stuff. And he's like, yeah, the Mikado ordered me to come see you myself. I'm here to confirm my loyalty. And the others kind of step in, and Tokiyuki's like, oh, it's okay, look, I'll do this. And then he steps on the front of Tokiyuki's clothing to pin him down, and then aims a bow and arrow at him. And he's like, all right, yes, continue. Keep going. Yeah. Well, pointing the arrow at his face. He's like, look, keep on saying this stuff. And as Tokiyuki goes through, he's like, I'm in danger. And he's like, all right. And then he gets the part which is really important, which is like, pledge for your service for all eternity, even to the Mikado who ordered the death of your father. And Tokiyuki's like, that's what he came to check. It's like, yeah, I'm determined to accept. Loose your arrow if you must. And there is a weird moment where he does loose the arrow, but he, I think, gives Tokiyuki just enough slack that he can bend over backwards Matrix style to dodge it. And the arrow is fired with so much force that it tears through a bunch of trees, because that's how things do if you are that good at an archery and stuff. But yeah, he's satisfied with Tokiyuki's apology and proving his worth and everything. It's like, that's enough. I'm the Mikado's representative. I welcome you back. The Hojo are forgiven. Now you under my command. Okay.
When I was in grade school, I remember one of my teachers pulling us aside and showing us the clip from Kevin Costner's Robin Hood, where he shoots the arrow. And he was like, I'll give anyone extra credit points if you could just tell me like the 5 things that are wrong with this scene. And he was just, eventually he was just like, yeah, arrow, it needs to spin. It needs to be in an arc. Arrows don't work like this. Points for everybody, basically. This
Not arrows don't work that way.
Yeah. That isn't really connected to this chapter, but that's the main thought in my brain as we finished it. So, good chapter. Thumbs up.
Mm-hmm. Hey, let's do Black Clover.
Let's wrap this up, Nick. Black Clover, this is page 364. Do or die. So we open. Yes. The Witch Queen is like, look, I can tell if we don't do anything, the world is going to collapse. But Nature Boy Fur chimes in and is like, if Lucius tried to get rid of Asta before all this began, that means that Asta must be a threat to him. So we have to, Master Lucius has to be stopped. So we have to get this door. This is what we have to do. Even if their opponent is stronger than a supreme devil, the Black Bulls must stand against him. So the Black Bulls are like, all right, we're going to do everything we can to stop this. Immediately we start getting magic absorption from Henry, and then Gordon, who I noted like we didn't see before, is inside as well, and he's helping to kind of like stabilize Henry while this is happening.
Henry cut his hair, apparently.
Yes, he's a little bit more Bishojo at this point, or Bisojo. Yeah. Sorry.
I wouldn't know. I literally would not know it was him if it did not say literally next to him, Henry.
Yeah.
So.
Damnatio pulls out a sword, immediately just bisects the... Well, I guess it's not bisect. Bisect is split in 2. What's splitting in 4?
Quarters.
Oh, there you go. Nick's so smart. This is why you're the smart one on the podcast. I'm the big, dumb, stupid idiot no one likes.
Citation needed.
Okay. Quarters, the Black Bull headquarter, and it's like... I guess like a cool little thing. He's like, without the sword, the scale is worthless, but without the scales, the sword is mere violence. Blah 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 blah. You need both. It's looking pretty bad. We get like another 2-page spread of a bunch of angels attacking. We see different members of the team sort of blocking it, and then like counterattacking. It's a little tough to tell exactly what happens in some of it.
Yeah.
But we could see like Zora absorbing one of the shot, and then Sekre sealing one and stuff like that. Now there's some cool stuff going on, and Inamshu just like is kind of looking at it like, do these people really just want to keep up with this suicide attack? And he realizes that Gray is healing everybody, and then Gauche is using his magic to make copies of her. So he's like, there's a real one. It must be you. And immediately Gray's like, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. He goes to attack her. Gauche leaps in front of it, but both of them kind of get cut. I think he just kind of defends the worst of it. Both of them get severely fucked up. They haven't finished.
It looks like he is cut in half.
Yeah, like if you look at it, it does look like he has just been split straight in half. Like it looks like they have been completely killed. They're not there. They haven't finished the spell yet, and then it just looks like it's over. He just says it's over. All the Black Bulls have seemingly been defeated. We cut over to Asta, who's like, Ryu, isn't it time? Where is everybody? And Ryu just has like this quiet, contemplative look as Asta's like, wait, everybody? And we cut to one final two-page spread as Sekre is casting a sealing magic spell to basically seal all of the Black Bull's bodies back together, and they all kind of rise from the ground, this swampy ground, as like zombies, and they're like, not yet, we're not done yet.
Yeah, it's gruesome. Not used to seeing good guys fight this way, quite frankly. Yeah, it's all the Black Bulls fighting, but none of them really getting to stand out very much as they just kind of get their asses kicked.
Yeah, so. It's another shorter chapter, and a lot of it are like two-page spreads, so it finishes, or it reads rather very quickly, but I think still comes across pretty cool.
It gets the idea across, definitely. That's going to do it then for our manga this week, guys. We will finally have One Piece back next week. But for now, we're closing things out on Black Clover. So let's
closing time. Oh wait, that's the actual song. Never mind.
Oh yeah, we can't do that.
That'd be stupid.
Gonna get sued.
Yeah, so. They can't say anything. It's the Weird Al clause. You can do a parody of a song and no one can do shit about it. But if you try to do anything else, it's a problem. It's called an oopsie no-no. That's the break clause within the Weird Al law.
Article 9, subsection 8 of international copyright law, the oopsie clause.
The oopsie no-no clause. We performed one of those accidentally. Favorite series and MVP. This is tough. I have to think through everything this week. I don't think any one thing super stood out. But I think if I was gonna say something, I think it would be Akane-banashi is the one I'm most intrigued by. I think there's a lot of kind of cool things going in there.
Yeah. I'm going to go with Undead Unluck because it's a kung fu thing, and I'm a sucker. So
that's fair. I will follow along and say that I'm going to give my MVP to Fang, who I do like him being very
It's not like I like you guys. You're all big stupid idiots who look like idiots hanging over this thing.
Look at you guys. You look so stupid dangling from my hands while I save your lives.
Yeah, you look like idiots being here saved by me because I'm here too. Shut up. It's not a thing. Shut up.
I don't like any of you. I'm going to make mine Matsuoka because that is very easily the most surprising character moment that happened this week was him just kind of being nice and self-reflective over things. Didn't really expect that to happen, and it was a good thing that happened in Blue Box. So that's going to be my pick.
The audience, by the way, picked Chainsaw Man Room Room as their chapter of the week, and the Black Bulls collectively as the character of the week. I get that. Black Bulls looked very, very cool.
All right. Well, guys, that is it for Weekly Manga Recap. We're going to close things off here. Thank you all for joining us for this. We record the show live here on twitch.tv/RoloT Wednesdays, sometime between 7:30 and 8 Eastern Time. You can check out our Discord server or follow us on social media in order to find out when the show is going live. Also, if you join the Discord server, you can participate in conversations about the new chapters that come out, the recap series that we're going to be, the recommendation series that we're going to be covering, and all sorts of other fun things. You can also find the Google Doc maintained by Ninja X3i that keeps track of all sorts of statistics associated with the show that we never remember otherwise. and also make recommendations for future series for us to cover, and just kind of check out all the other stuff that we've done in the past as well. We also want to thank Milo Jack Stillitz and Wensleydale Cheddar for creating the opening sequence of the video version of the show, which you can find on youtube.com/weekly manga recap. Our audio version of the show is on Spotify, it's on iTunes, it's in lots of different places where podcasts are hosted, including weeklymangarecap.podbean.com is probably the best place to find the archive of everything. And everything except the stuff that's exclusive to Patreon. Patreon.com/weekly manga recap, which you can support.
We just did a bonus pod. We just did a Mortal Kombat bonus pod. If you're wondering why Nick referenced Raiden so quickly early on, that's why.
Yeah. That's called marketing, I think.
It's called corporate synergy.
Yes.
Which leads us to our sponsor, Raid Shadow Legends. Would you like to get 400 silver, 200 gold, and a 3 legendary 10 pull or whatever bullshit you get?
See, we did it so subtly before that now
you get
it'll seem more natural that
you get 700 shadow bucks or whatever the premium currency in that bullshit game is.
Shadow bucks, not suspicious sounding at all, definitely. And that's gonna do it, guys. We also want to thank Steve Man, who does tile cards for the show occasionally. Steve Man Art, do a search for it. And that is everything. Thank you all for joining us for this episode, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah, catch you later, nerds.
Oh no, nerds! You can't just go around calling people nerds, Quinn.
I just
Come on.
did. Boom.
Rebel.
Da 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 da. Just like John Cena would do. He'd call people nerds and then leave. Da 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 da. Sometimes he would. He was a bad person sometimes. Bye.
Yes.